Hi, I'm Euge Valovirta, and this is how to use EQ pedal and how not to. I did a how to use overdrive pedal a while ago, and it has been quite popular video, and this is one of the requests that I got from that video, that could I do a similar where I go through an EQ pedal. So this is about it. The signal chain, this is a ESP Mirage Deluxe from 80s. With EMG 81 and EMG SA single coil on the neck. Then it's my pedal board where I have a Bass EQ pedal GE-7, you know, your basic standard, but whatever EQ works, MXR 10 band, Boss 10 band, whatever, you know, EQ is EQ. If it has 10 bands, then you have more options. You can dial it more precisely, but I've always been completely fine with the GE-7. And then from the pedal board it goes to KHG's amp switcher, then into two amps, or actually kind of three. My 1959 hand-wired Plexi, that's been now correctly biased for 160 volts, so I'm using a variac to lower the voltage from 220 to 160, approximately 73%. Similar that if you would lower 120 American power to around 90 volts. You know what Eddie did. And then I have new preamp tubes in there, tube abductors. So the amp is a bit more punchier and has a bit more gain than with the original preamp tubes. And then I have 88 MP-1 set to completely clean into Peavey 5150 Black Letters power amp. Then both amps, let's treat this as 188, go to Fryet's power station. I'm attenuating a tiny bit, and then they go to my Marshall 1960 BX cabinet, where I have greenbacks and creambacks. So now I'm miking a 65M creamback with Shure SM57 and Sennheiser MD421, and 25M greenback with a single SM57, and the sound what you hear is a blend of those. They're approximately the same level. So that's the Plexi without anything. And two, you know, important things I think what you should take into account when you're using an EQ pedal. It's the same than with overdrive or boost. If you use it in front of the amp, it behaves completely differently than, or the amp behaves completely differently than if you use it in the effect loop. So now I have the pedal in front. So what happens is when it's in front, if you boost certain frequencies, when you have a tube amp, then those boosted frequencies that hits the amp will distort more. So now, as you can see here, I have a slight mid-hump, mid-boost, and a slight low cut at 100 Hz, and then a slight level boost. And check out what happens when I engage the overdrive and then, you know, disengage it. I'm gonna play a riff. This is a song called Testify featuring Samy Elbanna. It's my latest single and music video from my forthcoming solo album. I'll put the streaming and pre-order links to the album and video links to the description below. I'm gonna first play it without anything, just the Plexi. everything is set to 10 on Plexi except the volume tube is at 4. So I've jumped the channel. So what you heard was the mids started to bark and distort, and because of the level boost, if I put everything to 0 and use this just as a transparent booster, check out what happens. The lows get a bit mushy, because now also the lows distort. So what you would do, what I will do, what I advise you to do is cut the lows a bit. Okay, there's not no that boo boo, but there's still a bit. And then just use the level to boost it. There, how I always said overdrive, when it gets the zzz, there. I wanted to make it a bit more aggressive, so I'm gonna boost the mids a bit so that the mid frequencies, so that the first preamp tube will distort mid frequencies more. You hear the bark. Maybe a little bit too much bark, let's back it up a bit. So the sound becomes more kind of singing, more sustained, and now because we are raising the level and certain frequencies into an amp, the amp will distort. The first preamp tube will distort a certain way. And how you, or at least how I don't advise it, is you to use it is to cut the highs, the mids. Check out what happens. You're just making the sound more worse, because now the amp doesn't get as much mids, because magic lies in the mids, pretty much in everything, especially in guitar sound. So now it's just a really dull and boring sound. It's much better without. So in front, if you're looking for a boost and a little bit more gain, distortion from your amp, cut the lows a little bit, boost mids, and the way how you find the frequencies, because you know different amps behave differently, so you just crank certain frequencies until, okay, I like this, I don't like that. Okay, so let's put the level to 0, and now let's start to 200. We don't need that, so let's start from 400. Let's go. Let's not use that. Then 800. Yeah, nice. 1.6K. You get a nice bite. 3.2K. That was pretty nice too. 6.4. It was a bit harsh, so let's leave the 6.4 out and use these 3. Here, more aggressive. Then let's increase the whole signal with the level a little bit. There, and now? Cool. So that's the way how, you know, you use EQ in front to boost an amp. And then let's switch to ADA completely clean sound. The neck pickup, if you want a little bit more aggression, you know, you can use an EQ. This is a solid state channel, so you don't get any distortion because there's no tubes. Now in the preamp you get just a more brighter sound. But if I switch to a tube overdrive channel, that's this, that's clean with the tube, so there's a little bit breakup. And where we add the EQ, listen, distortion, the tube is distorting now because we're hitting the tube with a bit more level and a mid boost. Let's switch back to the solid state. No EQ. No tube, no distortion, just a different, you know, EQ character. Alright, cool. That is in front. Next, I'm gonna put it to Fried Power Station's effect loop, which I can turn on and off, because the Plexi, handheld Plexi doesn't have effect loop, so I will show you how you can change the amplifier's sound when it's in the loop. Now we were changing the sound before the amp, so then the amp behaves certain way depending what kind of boost or level boost you're hitting the amp. Then if you do it post preamp, which means in the effect loop, because effect loop is post preamp, pre-power amp in between, then the amplifier behaves and the EQ pedal behaves quite a bit differently. So let me do that now. Okay, so now the amp is in the loop, it's behind there. The settings are the ones that you know, I left it. So there's a mid boost and a slight level boost. Check out what happens when I engage the loop. So now it's the Plexi without the anything, and then the delay, you know, in this case the Fried's loop, but it's basically like having it in the Plexi's loop if a Plexi would have a loop. So now what happens, the signal goes straight into the amp, then because the EQ is post preamp, so before the power amp, and now there's a mid boost. Doesn't sound to me that good as a rhythm tone, but as a lead tone that cuts through the mix, and now when there's a level boost, it adds a little bit level. It could be a cool solo sound. we're on the ADA clean channel. For this, it works because it's solid state. There's no tubes, and so there's no distortion. It's completely clean. So you're changing the frequency. If I change it to clean tube channel, so now what it does, it's kind of, because there's a mid boost and a level boost, so the power tubes are distorting a bit. Okay, but this is one way to use it, and other way is if you want to just change your amplifier sound. So let's say Plexi like this, quite a bit of a mid bark. If you want to make this a bit more modern, let's cut out some mids. Okay, so now what I did, I boosted a little bit lows, a little bit highs, almost like a not very deep, but moderate smiley face. So, without. And all of a sudden your Plexi becomes kind of like 800, a bit more scooped, more bottom, more top. Listen. Then when we add super overdrive there in front. So the last thing, I bypassed everything, so it's just the Plexi. So in the loop, you can really shape the amp's sound. So like in this case, I made a Plexi really mid-focused, mid-boosted amp, more like a JCM800, more modern Marshall, by adding some 100 Hz and some 4-6K, basically making a not moderate smiley face. And then adding SD1 in front, you have like modern high gain amp. In the loop, what's not to do, I don't think there's any, if it sounds good, it's good. If you want to have a lead sound that really cuts through, then you can boost the mids in the loop and cut lows. So then it's really, that might sound not so good on its own, but in the mix and in the band contest, it might be just what you need to cut through the mix. And then if you want to change the amps, in this case, a vintage Plexi to a more modern amp, you just add some lows and top and cut some mids. Hey, hopefully you found this interesting and informative. Until next time, take care. All the best. Bye.